Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 487 for the week of Tuesday, February 9th, 2021. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
And Kevin.
Oh, God damn it.
And Charlie.
And Charlie. There we go.
You fell for it, Kevin. You thought it was defeated.
I did. God damn it. I did. You're right. That's on me. It's on me. After all this time, it's on me.
So we're actually going to do things a little reverse order here. We're starting a little bit later than we intended to start recording, and I know Kevin has a very early job, so he usually checks out kind of towards the back half of the podcast. But we're gonna start instead with our spoiler end of episode talk. So we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about WandaVision up front. If you do not want to know anything about WandaVision, you may want to hang back and skip to the very end of the episode, skip an hour or something like that. Because I think we have a lot to talk about. Because we did our episode Josh Williamson last week, so we didn't get to talk about WandaVision. I know we had a lot to say. But before we get to the spoilers, Kevin had a non-spoiler question that we were going to handle last week, so we're going to do that now. So again, no spoilers right now.
Well, the no spoilers is going to depend on people's answers to this question. So I'm just kind of looking for choose one of these two options, and I'm curious what all of you guys think.
Light spoilers for
is this possibly
now? Is this through episode
5? I would have asked it after 4, okay, but obviously I'm asking it after 5. So this is for everybody. I just want to kind of go around the table and hear where you guys are at right now.
Okay.
Do you think that on this show there is an unseen villain who has yet to be revealed, or do you think Wanda is the antagonist of the story?
I do not believe there is an unseen villain. I think there's more than meets the eye with a couple characters, possibly.
Great Transformers going to bust in on this?
Yeah, but I do not believe there is a out of left field villain that will appear in the back half of the show.
I mean, I want to say I want to say that I mean, why wouldn't you use WandaVision to introduce some new villain potentially? I mean, having something be influencer, because it's like, why does she break bad in the first place? I mean, we don't really know what pushes her.
Just pick one. We'll be here all night, Brock.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
Yes, villain?
There's another villain.
Okay.
So I have a no with the qualifier of you just summed up my fear for this show is that they will cop out with some unseen villain who's really behind it all. Like, I want this to just be Wanda. And so far, they have made me very happy with all evidence points to it just being Wanda.
Toby,
one more. Okay, come on.
I think it's Wanda. I think she's both the hero and the villain in the show, which makes this very unique. However, I do think more characters are showing up. I do think Agnes is actually part of the show. I would not be surprised if we see any of the other ones. Like, I think Wonder Man is actually going to show up too at some point.
So nobody's predicting the curtain pulls back and it's Mephisto.
For some reason, I'm not on the Mephisto thing. I'm more on the Agatha thing. So, I think Mephisto will be a bigger deal. And I think Agatha might be having some hands in this, possibly. But with what we're going to talk about later, I do think this is all Wanda, which makes the show really unique.
Well, what made me want to ask it after 5, what I was curious about your answers after 5 was her comment about, I don't know how this all started. I don't know how you think I did this. I don't know how it got this way.
Yeah. I honestly think they could do the High Evolutionary.
But he's not really a villain, though, is he?
Yeah, but he's picking things out and plopping them in.
It's the same problem I have, that I just can't imagine a last-minute reveal that's unrelated to anything.
I mean, the High Evolutionary would require a lot of heavy lifting to get that all in.
No, they completely redo it for the modern era. Yeah, because if you want a headache, go read the High Evolutionary Wikipedia page. Oh my god.
I do not want to read that.
Well, anyway,
I mean, I have read a lot of those books, but I do not need to read the Wikipedia page.
So I think, Ryan, the world is wondering, since the show was ruined for you after episode 4, where are you now? Oh,
sorry. Say that one more time.
Since the show was ruined for you after episode 4, where are you now?
We'll get to that. You just want my my grade?
Sure. Don't let me lead the discussion. I just wanted to ask that one question.
Yeah. So we'll. I mean, at this point, yeah, we're gonna pretty much go full spoiler here. And I know Toby's been building up for weeks to have this conversation.
Yeah, well, you've kind of been killing it by not doing it last week and then promising to do it midweek and then not doing it. So you already defeated me. I already don't give a shit anymore, man.
No, because I think you'll look. I think you'll
No, I say I don't give a shit anymore because it took so damn long to get.
Oh. So we've talked about the first 3 episodes, which I think are phenomenal. My issues with episode 4 is, and we talked about this on Geekbox last night. Ryan Scott. It's funny. We both ended up playing defending the common person at certain points during the conversation, and then like kind of defending the nerds during the other parts. It was a fun conversation, which I think we're gonna have a similar one tonight. I feel like the problem with episode 4 was, I know they had to get this stuff out, but I don't like the way they went about it. I feel like the 4th episode was too much of an info dump, and I wish they would have spread that content out over a number of episodes. I mean, in my best fantasy, they stay weird the whole 9 episodes and forget explaining anything. Like, just figure it out yourself. Look, they're not going to do that, obviously. Episode 5 was more what I hope the rest of the show is. Sorry, my dog is being a big jerk today. You stop barking. I think the 5th episode split the weirdo stuff and the explanation, the real world stuff, a little bit better. Had episode 4 been more like that, I think I would have liked it better. That's all I'm saying. So I had some pretty big problems with the 4th episode. It was a very good, fun, enjoyable MCU thing, but it wasn't what the first 3 episodes were. So, but I do not think the show is bad in any way, shape, or form. It is very, very good. I think, yeah, and that's why I don't think we're going to get some random, 4th quarter villain that's going to come out of nowhere, because they would have introduced something. Things would have already been set up by now. I mean, we thought Hydra would be more involved with the like the AIM, right? With Hydra AIM, with the beekeeper stuff. Nope, that was something totally different. A lot of those early rumors, and if it was
okay,
Mephisto,
I have to specify. Ryan thought we were going to get more AIM and that stuff with the beekeeper. I was not on board with that theory.
Again,
I'm disappointed in his own theories, and now is not on board anymore.
No, there's a billion fan theories out there, and they're all fine. But like, if Mephisto was going to be here, would there be something? And it would make no sense to drop in some big character at the end that's meaningless to the audience of the comic, right?
So
the audience of the show.
So I want you to think back to, we just finished watching a really great movie, and then the end credit scene pops up, and we see the side of somebody's face, and everyone goes effing nuts. Geek-wise, everybody who didn't know who he was, that was literally the most searched thing on Google that day.
Yep.
And
so, I cannot remember if I said this on here or the Geekbox, but I said it on Geekbox last night. So now I've said it on both places. Dan Slott longtime writer of comic books. He had a fantastic tweet a few weeks ago when some of these early theories were coming up about WandaVision, and he said, and again, I'm sorry if I've already said this on here. I can't remember if I said it on here, but it's relevant to the conversation, so I'll repeat it. And again, I'm paraphrasing here. He said, I don't talk about fan theories. I don't discuss this stuff really because he's involved with some elements of some stuff and doesn't want to come off like he knows what's going on. I mean, he works in the industry, so he can't really comment about anything. He doesn't kind of put his opinions up because people could take it as he knows more than he does, or if he's right or wrong, he doesn't want people. If he guesses right, people will think he leaked it, whatever. He said, but has there been a single time in the MCU where something happened at the very end of the movie or late in the movie where a villain comes out of nowhere or a situation comes out of nowhere that hadn't already been set up? The comic fans may understand what it is, but the audience, which is 99% of the people watching, will not understand. Now, people brought up Thanos. People brought up Thanos at the end of Avengers. And the problem with that is Thanos was in the movie. We knew Loki was working with someone. We knew the Chitauri were working with someone. We saw them working. So Thanos did not come out of nowhere. Thanos was teased throughout the course of that movie, just we didn't know who it was. So if there was a shadowy, like if Agnes turns out to be Agatha Harkness or Mephisto or something, I could maybe buy that she's got more going on with this because she's been there this whole time. But if literally like the devil walks out from behind a door in the 8th episode, people are going to be like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is meaningless to the regular audience. So that's why I do not believe that there's a last minute villain reveal, because it would have been set up through the whole show. That's a very long way to go about that.
Well, you don't know a lot about Jimmy Woo, do you?
What was that, Toby?
You don't know a lot about Jimmy Woo, do you? Because if we spell his name, it says... No, actually kidding.
No, the thing about that in a past world, I would tend to agree with you, except for the fact that like immediately after the first episode of WandaVision, people were already posting information from the comic books, top searches. We've seen this on Walking Dead a few times. At the end of the episode, new character gets introduced. People immediately blow up online finding out who that new character is and that kind of stuff. I feel like information is at people's fingertips at a way that it wasn't in the past. So even like the Thanos reveal in Avengers, like they never had to say his name, but everybody knew his name just from the people around them filling them in or the internet filling them in, etc.
Yeah, but you can't rely on Wikipedia to explain what something is.
But it's not necessarily
from you, Ryan.
But
that's
even
coming from you, Ryan.
Even beyond that, I mean, think about how much effort Disney Plus, which is where the show is, has put into explore the character history kind of content recently and stuff like that. I don't feel like it's outside of the realm of possibility that they would set something up and then put something on Disney Plus to give people a way to relate on how this is going to lead into Doctor Strange 2 or something else. Like, I think we live in a age at this point that if people want the information spoon-fed to them, it's out there and they can find it. And I'll use my wife as an example on this. She started asking me some questions after like the first episode, and I kind of remained coy, being like, I know some of the stuff they might be doing from the comic books. And then she just pulled up like a Google article and went, okay, now I understand about this. I'm like, maybe.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
We know the comic stuff, but that doesn't mean any of that stuff's going to happen.
No, but what I mean is almost to a degree, the fun of Lost and that kind of stuff, a lot of it comes from the talking to people, coming up with theories, interacting online. Like, there's a huge amount of this stuff where you get more out of it if you engage with other people.
Oh, sure. But that should not be. I can want that. I do want the weird, and I think this was the chance for them to take that risk because they've built up enough goodwill. But you could be weird, but still accessible. Dropping a villain at the last episode is not accessible. That's just bad filmmaking because that's bad storytelling because the audience doesn't understand what's going on in this case. Some of it does. I think this was a problem with the last couple of Harry Potter movies. I had never read the books and I was hopelessly lost because they did a very poor job of explaining what was going on. When one random character who you saw like 3 minutes of once suddenly becomes like the most important character, I was like, who the fuck is this kid? Who is this other kid? I have no idea who this is. I think they did a poor job of setting up the end. The people that have read the books knew, but I had never read the books, and so I was like, this was meaningless to me. I think that would be a problem. Now, they ask a lot of readers or of viewers in the MCU because they have a lot of shows, but I think they've done an okay job of explaining what's been going on and setting you up in the show if you've really only seen a couple of the movies. I mean, I think it'd be tough if you didn't see nothing. Yeah, I don't know what the hell you'd get out of this, but I just can't picture them dropping. I mean, Wanda
I could
is
absolutely
the
picture
villain
them.
of the show, really. I mean, I can't see it really going any other way. It would feel cheap if she was like, no.
Oh, I completely agree with you about how it would feel cheap. I would not be happy if they worked somebody else in. But at the same time, in terms of, yes, I don't think they would drop the next big bad that's going to be in the next Avengers movie 10 years from now or something in this. But if they have a character that they plan to do something with in other shows, especially since they keep announcing more shows on the way,
Yeah,
I could completely see them dropping a character that they plan to pick up in a thread on a different show, somewhat unrelated to this show.
well, I think that's Jimmy Woo. I think that's Darcy.
Yeah.
I think that's Photon. I mean, I think that those characters, like, clearly they've built them up in this way more than they built them up on other stuff. So they'll do something with those characters going forward.
But I'm saying I would not be surprised if they did something where it doesn't even have to necessarily be a villain, but I would not be surprised even if they had somebody from... I don't think we're going to get Doctor Strange in this show, but I would not be surprised if we got somebody from Doctor Strange's movies making an appearance.
That is the that is the kind of, I think one of the kind of standing theories is there. They said there is going to be I don't want to spoil Mandalorian. There's going to be a important character showing up in the last episode. I mean, I think Doctor Strange would be a pretty solid.
Am I the only one that thought it got announced that this is semi like a prequel to the Doctor Strange movie and that Doctor Strange is in the show?
I don't know that I've seen Doctor Strange is officially in it, but yeah, WandaVision, they've said elements of WandaVision will go into the upcoming movies, including Doctor Strange and Spider-Man 3.
Here that doesn't think or does think like the show is not going to end in a end kind of way. I actually think the show is going to end on a cliffhanger.
No.
Oh, I totally.
I mean, if they want to do another season, they could do that. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah,
but
I think this is a giant setup. The story will have some closure, but I think
that's real dangerous.
When we leave the show, we have answers. That's what I think. I actually think she's going to be the battery or the source of power for the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, they will wrap up.
That's what we're going to end the show with. Anyway,
I mean, they can wrap up the plot. Wanda goes off. I kind of don't see. I have reservations about Wanda being like the big bad. I think I mentioned this on the other podcast. Well, see, but I think I mentioned this on a couple podcasts ago. Wanda going crazy because her kids get like magically aborted. That is maybe a situation they would not want to.
I'm not saying that's how they.
I don't think they're going there, but I think they're taking the same idea of a catalyst, basically the death of Vision and the grief of the death of Vision.
Yeah.
Spinning up Wanda's powers this way, and I think if they handle it correctly, it doesn't necessarily need, like, it can set her up as a danger or whatnot, but I don't think it necessarily needs to make her a big bad or a villain. Like, I don't think anything that we've seen is irredeemable for the character thus far.
No, well,
but it is very much if you consider this a exploration in grief to a degree.
Right. Well, I'm okay. Like she's controlling those people, right? And so that is villainous, but she is not like murdering thousands of people. Like, to me, I feel like this is sort of like when she comes out in this 5th episode and she's like, I told you guys to get the fuck out of here. I'm not playing around. And she goes back in. I feel like that's about the extent of it. She's like, leave me alone. I'm doing this thing. No one's getting hurt. I'm not doing anything bad. Everyone's living a great life. While it's clearly bad, I think they can pull back from that. I do not think they will turn her into a like cackling supervillain.
No, I don't know what I'm saying.
No.
Like, the fact that she could be a villain doesn't mean she has to be like an evil villain. There could just be stuff that she has to work out, and things can happen.
Well, with Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, we'll leave Spider-Man to the side for the moment. I don't even want to get Spider-Man. I don't want to get Spider-Verse Spider-Man involved in this conversation at all. Let's stick with Doctor Strange, because I feel like that's I mean, Toby. Tom Holland came out today and said, no, all those casting things are all nonsense today. No, clearly he could be lying. He could be hiding the truth, right? I mean, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield could totally be in the movie. And of course, he's not going to tell us. Of course, he's going to deny it. But like, whatever. Let's put Spider-Man aside. Let's look at Doctor Strange. I think, well, and this, let's go. Well, let's very quickly touch on the end of the episode. We'll talk more about that.
Do you know what this conversation is reminding me of? My favorite thing about WandaVision? Sorry to step on your line, Ryan.
Just the confusing.
No. That it's reminding me what it was once like to watch TV, where you get an episode at a time, you debate it, you chew on it, you wonder what's coming next. Oh, it's such a pleasure. It's like flexing a muscle I haven't used in so long. So, Toby,
yeah,
you loved episode 4.
Absolutely loved it.
What did you like? It was obviously the outlier from all the ones before we even get to what happened in 5. What did you like about 4?
I loved the first 5 minutes, like, to death. That opening, I feel like, should have been the opening for the entire show. I think the way they opened episode 4, and this is me putting an editor hat on. This is not saying, I mean, the creative choices they did, they did. This is, I'm just saying, if I had an editor hat on, I would have opened the show exactly the way episode 4 opened, because I was just completely hooked. I was like, look, I knew there was going to be a payoff. Like, and we all knew it, right? We're all going to watch it. We're all going to finish the show. We all knew at some point there's going to be a reveal or a look behind the curtain, right? But the opening with the blip back, I mean, we're allowed to talk about that, right? Sorry.
Yeah, hit it.
Well, sorry, just opened the hat, I guess. But the blip back opening, I thought was so strong and so well done. I wish that was the opening of the show. That alone would have kept me completely interested in the entire show. Like, that scene alone, you could have opened with that, going to the WandaVision title shot, and then go to the sitcom, and then have little things sprinkled through the show, from episode 4 in the next 3 episodes. Like, even if it's just at the end, I would have been all in, like, completely from the get-go. Now, I was all in anyways, because we all know there was a payoff coming. But the stuff in episode 4, I thought it was so strong, man. I was like, if you had that in the beginning, you had all the Norvals hooked since the beginning, too. So, I at least now we know to tell them, like, hey, if you watch it, don't judge the show until you watch till episode 4, anyways.
Yeah, but and I do not mean to come off as insulting, Toby, but I hate that we have to tell people to stick around to episode 4.
Yeah, well, I think
it's boring.
Personally, I think things from episode 4 should have been sprinkled throughout the show. In general,
no, I so disagree. To me, so much of the show was set up like they could sprinkle stuff going forward, but if they gave the game away in the first episode, what's the point?
No, who said anything about giving it away? I would have opened it up with that blip back. That doesn't tell you shit about Wanda, does it? Does it tell you anything about Wanda's story?
No, but why? Why would that be in the first episode? Because she's not even there in the first episode.
Doesn't matter. It's like you instantly hook an audience in that is already invested.
Wasn't she in the first episode?
Yes, she was.
Oh, but not as a character that is conscious of what's going on. Like, the audience had no idea.
Actually, I'm not sure if she was in it. She might have been in the second episode. I'm actually not 100% sure on that. But
if you start with this big event, okay, well, I mean, but take the same argument as before, right? Again, you have to pretend that you have to assume the audience has not seen Endgame. You can't assume people have seen Endgame.
You can absolutely assume people have seen Endgame.
No.
I guarantee
it's on the same service.
I thought that's meaningless.
I guarantee you, everybody that's watched Wanda has seen Endgame. I guarantee you. And even if they did not, the way that opened, something happened, people disappeared, you instantly have a backstory. It doesn't matter if you saw Endgame or not.
I don't know.
I can't even imagine how somebody would get invested in the show if you're going to assume they haven't seen any of the Marvel movies up through this point.
I mean, it happens, right?
A love of sitcoms.
Well, sure. I mean, this is a very different thing, look, I
want to know of one person that decided to watch WandaVision just because it looked interesting, that did not watch any of the Marvel movies.
Oh, I guarantee you, based on the reviews of the first episode, I guarantee you people watched this that hadn't seen an MCU movie, or probably in quite some time. And I'm sure many people have seen at least one randomly, but yeah.
Other than Dick Van Dyke, who I know was brought in as like a creative consultant on the first episode. Other than him,
I did want to go briefly. Sorry, I had to step away for just 1 second. I do want to go back real quick to Wanda and Doctor Strange and the very end, because again we'll talk about the what we think is going on with the Quicksilver thing in a bit. That's a whole conversation, but whether he's from the X-Men movies, whether she grabbed him from the multiverse, however you think that's this character comes here, right? We have Wanda potentially, because we don't know who this character is, potentially tapping into the multiverse in this episode, right? I could see the idea of this leading into, quote unquote, the Doctor Strange movie, because, okay, well, she's now accessed the multiverse. That sort of creates this whole, her and Doctor Strange are going to try to kind of, they're the two that can access the multiverse. They're going to go do some stuff. I just do not see this show going full on Dark Phoenix, Wanda, ends on a giant cliffhanger to be continued in Doctor Strange. She's now this ultimate villain. I can't believe that. I do not see them go in that direction with this character at all.
You think
I know she's in Doctor Strange, right? We know she's in the movie.
You think WandaVision is a miniseries?
Oh, it's 9 episodes. We have no idea if there's more. If they're going to, to the best of my knowledge, there's no second season.
I'm pretty sure they have things planned out for the next 10 years.
Yeah, but there's no currently planned second season of WandaVision to the best of my knowledge. Huh?
Per your knowledge?
Well, yes.
Did you know about Boba Fett spin-off show after Mandalorian season 2 till that very end?
Well, no, of course not. None of us.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're just talking gibberish here, to be honest.
Well, yes. That's the whole theory. That's the whole point. We do not know what's going to happen. We are guessing. That's the whole point of this conversation. We are putting our best fan theories forward. That is the entire point.
I think.
So the only image that I've seen from Doctor Strange, and I don't even remember where this was, they showed a still photo, and this may have even been a assembled photo and not something, I don't even know if they're filming it or not, of Doctor Strange and Wanda side by side with their hands up in like a magic position, and the looks on their faces if they are facing something coming toward them. Not that he's fighting her. It looks like a team up based on one image.
It was on?
I don't remember where I saw it. This was like sometime within the last 2 weeks.
It was her and who?
Doctor Strange, side by side, like magicking against something coming at them.
I mean, there wouldn't be anything.
But no,
Was it like Endgame or was it?
Well, I've never seen them side by side in one of the other movies, so I assumed it was from the Doctor Strange movie.
No, I don't think. Have they even filmed anything in Doctor Strange?
But they have never been together in something else, have they? I mean, I know they've been in the same movie, but they have not been in a scene together. Okay, point being, I was going to agree with you what you were saying, Ryan. I don't think Wanda is going to be the Dark Phoenix of the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
I will say this. If they manage to pull off a good Dark Phoenix story, but just swap out Wanda for Dark Phoenix, then
it's all forgiven, Charlie?
Yes, then it's all forgiven, really considering awkward. I've seen that failed way too many times already.
But that's what I mean. I don't know. Like, again, the context of her with the kids and what happens in the comics, assuming something similar happens here. I mean, I kind of assume the kids were going to stick around, but who knows? Maybe they don't. I don't know. There's just like, it just totally feels like something they wouldn't want to get involved with. They would want to do something more, not potentially offensive. So I just feel like she can be the villain of this show and it'll wrap up. And, I would guess every season of the MCU shows are like, well, it's one season. If we like it, we'll do more. I would think this is well enough received. I don't think you can have the same setup. I don't think you can do the whole TV show thing. Be kind of gimmicky. It wouldn't really make sense doing it again. I don't know maybe they could make it work. I don't know, but they could still do the further adventures of Wanda and Vision. Like, that's totally cool. But yeah, I just don't see them like going like all big bad with her.
No,
again, who knows?
If the show is actually about exploration of grief or whatnot, it opens up that question of, is this the way to bring Vision back? At which point, that's not a very good exploration of grief story. Or if it's about coming to terms with her grief, then this would be the end of Vision, I would assume, at the end of it. I don't know which way they're going to go, obviously, but I could, if the narrative is around Wanda going to an extremes, working through her grief, I kind of feel like it has to end with Vision being put back to rest. Because how else do you come to a satisfying conclusion of a story about grief? Other than being like, look, I cheated death. that would kind of undercut the entire thing.
Yeah.
Okay, to clarify that last thing I was saying, because I just found the thumbnail and I blew it up to the large picture. This is about the Doctor Strange 2 casting, and it's two separate pictures of them that were blended together, just listing the people who are in the movie. So they have not started filming it.
Yeah, I didn't think they had it. I didn't think they had it yet.
It looks really cool on a little tiny thumbnail image, but seeing it large, not so cool anymore.
Clickbait.
Yeah,
Did you see the someone grabbed the shot of Michael Fassbender from X-Men and Wanda when she kind of like flicks her little hex thing at him. They do a very similar like hand motion wave and kind of walk away, and it was like, wonder what we're gonna do with that.
Now, would that appearance shock you?
Well,
would that be in the same category as Mephisto?
Let's talk about Quicksilver, okay? And feel free to, we could keep going on about whatever we want to talk about in WandaVision, yeah, but I feel like we got to talk about this because I saw. Well, I think the to me when I saw that I was like, okay. She can't bring back people from the dead, or she's not supposed to. They kind of can't. It doesn't really work. There's rules. But there's nothing against pulling your brother from an alternate dimension into this world. So she's like, well, I can't resurrect Pietro, but I can grab him from I can grab another version of him from the multiverse and throw him and bring him over. I saw another theory that actually I actually think is maybe what they're going to do. And that is that this is not Quicksilver at all. This is the guy that lives in this town that she's like, yeah, this guy could be Quicksilver now. This guy could be my brother, and just made him look like that. Because, like, that's the whole thing, is that these people are there's all sorts of living people here, and she can kind of control them and do whatever, whether that guy's doppelganger is here, just not Quicksilver, just different power set or whatever. She can, the whole idea of they quote unquote recast Pietro. I could see them a more easy explanation as opposed to, hey, not only can Wanda access the multiverse and grab people from it, but also, oh yeah, there's an entire history of X-Men movies that the audience might not have seen. It could just be some dude from the town. That said, if, fan me is like, go all out. If you want this to be the introduction of the X-Men to the MCU, I mean, fine. But like I said, I just don't think that's going to read very well. I don't think people would understand that's a big ask of the audience. And this is modern day. This isn't the past, so it's not going to be Fassbender and what's his face? McAvoy, right? It would be Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. Look, if Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen fucking roll through the door in the next episode, no one's going to be more happy than me. But I just don't see that happening. They're going to recast the X-Men. They're going to make them their own. They're going to do their own thing with it. I kind of think this is their like, let's wave to the audience. Okay, now you're never going to see these people again, but we gave you something. That universe is out there.
So all I can say is Patrick Stewart recently had an interview where he did say that Kevin Feige had talked to him about reprising Xavier, but after Logan, he doesn't have any interest in going back to play Xavier again.
Yeah.
So at least conversations with Patrick Stewart have happened, and he shot them down.
I'm sure they were like, fuck, we got the X-Men. Let's bring them all in for something. Like, why not, right? Again, the multiverse version, they're gonna be they could show up anytime they want, right? So like, I think there's a possibility of doing this stuff. They, if they're going to bring in all the Spider-Man from the different movies in the Spider-Man, which I'm still not 100%. I would not put money on that happening. It could, but
you could still have Fassbender in WandaVision because he's Fassbender at the age of that Quicksilver. So if she's grabbing that Quicksilver,
she brings him over.
Yeah, he's from that same iteration.
Sure, but WandaVision is, today or like 2023 or whatever, right? So like, but if they're like, yeah, of course, if she's just grabbing people from the multiverse and bringing him over. But are you 5 episodes in to this show about Wanda and Scarlet Witch going to be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to like bring in all the like Crisis on CW had the little nods and winks, but it wasn't like it is imperative that the cast of the Birds of Prey TV show to understand this, right? If Doctor Strange is like swimming through the multiverse and pops into the X Mansion for 5 seconds and Deadpool's standing there and he's like, what? And then just, okay, like you can do that. Like that's fine. I don't care if they do that. But like, there's only a couple episodes left and the plot with the characters that have actually been in the show has not been resolved. Yeah. We can't bring in like literally 1,000 more characters with the X-Men and Magneto and endless relationship problems and character conflicts and all the like it. I think people, I know they want this, but like, man, it's not going to happen yet. Like X-Men aren't going to be around for a fucking long time. Not really, not the real X-Men.
It's going to be funny to think back on this conversation after it's over and see how far off the mark we were with all of this.
The Facebook group says I get every single thing wrong, so the X-Men are going to be in the next episode. Logan's going to roll up. They're just Hugh Jackman's just going to roll up for the next 4 episodes, and he'd be like, "What's up, bub? Let's go. I can have some brewskis," and that's going to be the rest of the show. So yeah.
I think it definitely reminds me of the Stan Lee quote: "Never give the fans what they think they want," because that. If you bring the X-Men in via this show, that's a shit show of just like the narrative unspools like you're rolling a ball of yarn across a floor.
Right. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I think this is a nice fan wink and nod, and I don't know how many episodes this guy's going to be in. He could be in the whole rest of the show. Maybe they do cast him as Quicksilver for the show. Maybe they just like this actor better. The guy in Age of Ultron was kind of a dud to me. Like he's nothing. Like this guy is great. If they're like, yeah, we're literally, Wanda brought him back from the dead and now he looks different and we just like this actor better. I mean, I would have no problem with that. But it's not the Quicksilver from the X-Men movies at that point. This is, a different thing. Brandon Routh, right? I mean, Brandon Routh is Adam, Superman, and in Crisis, they like acknowledge this stuff, and it's a big part of the episode. It's a big part of the show, but like that's you've had enough time with kind of both. You've had the movie, and then you had enough time with him and the Atom, and they were already involved in the multiverse, and even if you don't know that the actor played Superman in another movie, the multiverse and parallel dimensions has been explained regularly in the Arrowverse or CWverse, whatever they're calling it now, world that this isn't a new concept. They really haven't done anything with alternate dimensions and alternate versions of characters and crossing over in the MCU. I think the example I used was like, yeah, Lou Ferrigno shows up in the Hulk movie. Like, I kind of see this a little bit more like that than we're going to have an entire crossover with the X-Men franchise because we can. Yeah, I just don't see that.
So, assuming they leave this show the way it is and kind of set up Doctor Strange a little bit in this show at the end, to me, the pitch would be she did drag Pietro from another universe and it didn't go unnoticed by something in the multiverse kind of thing. Like, there should be some cost to suddenly playing with sort of the larger multiverse tapestry. And that could easily be where Doctor Strange comes in to be like, you went into the multiverse and you were noticed. And that goes in sort of the Multiverse of Madness movie, at which point they can fully explore however much of the multiverse they want to within the Doctor Strange movie, but just have it a small little footnote to this series.
Yeah, I have no problem with them wanting to have an element of this going into Doctor Strange. I don't care about that at all. But like, no ending to this show and a big thing that says to be continued in Doctor Strange. Like, that's not happening. Like, no, this will wrap up. It's a show. Like, it's just
come on. You know, in the end credits, it's going to say Wanda will return in Doctor Strange 2.
And that's totally fine. And that's totally fine. But except for Infinity War, all the Marvel movies wrap up completely. They wrap up their story. They all have a little stinger, and that's great. And this will have a stinger too, of course. But I can't imagine this story will be left unresolved. Now, the only way which it would end on a cliffhanger is if there's going to be a WandaVision season 2 that this continues directly into. And I think that's maybe possible if they're like, look,
they plan to have Doctor Strange between. Like, if they were already in production on a season 2, I'd be like, sure. But I don't see them ending this on a cliffhanger if they plan to keep using the characters in other Marvel properties in the meantime.
Yeah, but like, if you look at how fast, man, they got Mandalorian season 2. I mean, that came out at a pretty good clip. They could have WandaVision season 2 out and done before.
But
Dr.
they were
Strange.
already filming Mandalorian season 2, like when season 1 started, if I recall.
Oh, sure.
Like, it was fast tracked immediately. They would have to be slotting in a second season of WandaVision before Doctor Strange to make that work. And I'm not sure I believe they're going to do that when they have another 6 shows that they just greenlit. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No.
Well, as we maybe wrap up the topic, I just want to say I totally agree with you, Ryan. Whoa, on one point. And I'm going to apologize to the Ghost of Stan Lee in advance about giving the fans what they think they want. It wouldn't make sense. I don't know that it would be successful, but god damn, I would pretty much wet my pants in excited glee if it was like the classic John Buscema Mephisto frickin' like pulls back the curtain and is standing there on a live action show. Would be amazing.
Again, I would love Mephisto to be on this, right?
I don't want like a dude in a dark suit like Lucifer show. I want the devil.
Yeah. I just think they would have had to have done significantly more at this point. Now, Multiverse of Madness, Mephisto could 100% be in there, right? We had Dormammu, right? It was in the first one. There's no reason that Mephisto couldn't be the big bad of season 2 or of Doctor Strange 2. And it could be that elements of this show do involve him, right? And that he plays up with the twins in later things. I'm not saying that's not possible. I don't expect these characters to happen now. We got 4 episodes left. Clearly, we're going to get a bunch of Sword trying to continue to get in. Next episode, I would assume, is probably mostly about the loss of her brother and, again, grief, right? We're missing the themes. We're talking about the characters, but we're forgetting about the themes. And if the loss of her brother and the loss of Vision, and if grief is the theme here, she's brought Vision back. She's forced him to do this stuff. He's kind of a zombie, right? So like the Vision we see walking around is not really him. That dead husk is the real Vision, right? If she brings this guy in, whether it's Quicksilver from an alternate dimension, whether it's just a dude in the town, whatever the case is, right? I mean, clearly she's like, well, I can't bring him back from the dead. Vision wasn't dead. Vision was just disassembled, He can't really die. She can't bring this guy. So clearly, we have to get Wanda. Wanda's going to kind of have to get through this. The kids will probably age up. The kids, are they real? Yeah, they're real, but who knows kind of what's going on here? Losing the kids, if the kids disappear off, again, more grief. I think that the theme of the show is that's the part where the fan, again, look, I love thinking about the X-Men coming in and Magneto and Mephisto and Bova and fucking everything else, but like we're missing what the point of the show is. Like we're getting too lost in the characters and the comic lore, and not what the actual plot is.
But isn't that what Mephisto does? Doesn't he play around with whatever emotions or whatever things are going on with those characters? I mean, he basically manipulated Peter Parker into, that whole one more day thing, which we don't like talking about.
Yeah.
And the thing is stuff's happened in the show where she specifically said, I don't know how this is happening. I don't know why this is happening. So that might not be under her control.
Yeah, that's a question of if.
And this is the other thing. What about the stork?
What about it?
You're talking themes. The stork brings the babies. Yeah. She doesn't actually really give birth to them. The stork brings them.
Oh, They said in the last episode, like, oh no, the kids are real. She did give birth to them. It's just all through this all weird world. Clearly we didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure Monica Rambeau says like, oh no, it happened. She gave birth to those kids. It's just they're all like magically powered.
That doesn't explain the stork.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was a stork painted on the side of the...
Did you not watch the episode where the stork's running around and she's trying to get Monica Rambeau's character to not look at it?
Okay. What about it? Yeah, I remember that.
The stork is what represents bringing the children. So something is bringing that into it.
Maybe. I have no idea. It's all magic, right? That's her whole thing. It's weird. She's altering reality. Her hex powers are making things happen. She magically,
because I had a friend argue that that's actually Mephisto. So
stork.
Yeah. Again, I think people are
because he was being a jerk. He was deliberately being a jerk. So
I think people are misreading Wanda's powers being more powerful than she understands with an outside force. Again, I think if we were 5 episodes in and we saw shadowy figures doing stuff, I would agree with you. But I think this is all her. And she just doesn't... When she comes out, she understands like she's in control. But when she's in there, it's like she's kind of like got a haze over her. She doesn't want to see the truth. So she's sort of blinding herself to the reality that she finds herself in. And only when really threatened, she breaks out and goes outside and she's like, fuck all of you, and then goes back in. And then boop, right back to her world. Before we get out of here, Toby, tell me you watched Too Many Cooks. Tell me you watched that link I sent you.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Have you never seen Too Many Cooks?
No.
Okay, Kevin, you've seen Too Many Cooks.
What's the relevance to Wanda, though? I'm missing that part.
Have you seen Too Many Cooks?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Charlie?
Yes.
You're talking about Adult Swim?
Yeah, you've seen Too Many Cooks. Brock,
Yeah.
Somehow everything comes back to Too Many Cooks eventually, it seems.
This, like, they were so heavily inspired by Too Many Cooks in this episode, because that's what it was. When they come back and they're fighting over the credits, I was going to say this. That's Too Many Cooks. That is awesome. That's one of the best scenes in the show. I love that scene so much. Toby, you have to watch this. It's crazy white people shit. You'll hate it, but you have to watch it. Okay.
And with that ringing endorsement,
it's 11 minutes, 12 minutes. Please watch it, Toby. I think There's a puppet in it.
Hours of Fast and Furious. I'll watch the 11 minutes of Crazy White People.
There's a Muppet in it. There's a Muppet in it.
I will tell you
think you'll
this,
like it.
Toby. Once you've watched Too Many Cooks, you can never unsee Too Many Cooks.
Oh God.
WandaVision will make so much more sense once you've seen this. Okay. This last episode, yes, clearly it was based on all the 80s sitcoms we love, but it was also very heavily based on Too Many Cooks.
You mean
so please watch it.
Based on all the 80s sitcoms that we used to watch?
Yes, but through a very interesting lens. Yes.
Can we talk about how cool it was to see Vision spread out like that John Byrne drawing from West Coast Avengers?
Which one?
Oh, in this sword lab?
Yeah, I thought that was cool as hell.
That was actually a line in the most recent episode that sort of caught me a little bit, was the fact that they made it clear that what Wanda's doing trying to bring him back was against Vision's wishes. Meaning that they did have some sense of a do not resuscitate. I'm trying to remember the term for it. But basically, the fact that they know Vision did not want to be brought back if he died was kind of mentioned briefly, but was a very important line in my mind.
Yeah, they said like he was not supposed to come back, right? That was the entire part of that.
Well, we don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
they said it was specifically against his wishes to
right,
be
his
brought
will,
back.
right? His will, yeah.
It's up on the internet. You can read it.
What his will?
Well, yeah, that's where it would be, right?
Yeah, so she,
along with
the
like dormant code of his being.
Yeah, so she's doing stuff that nobody wants any of this, but except for her. But like, Mephisto doesn't have to be there for this to happen. But I also don't think they're gonna I don't think they take this further. I don't think she freaks out at the end of the show and becomes even worse. Like, this was her Dark Phoenix moment, and I think she comes out of it. I just don't see them turning into her like a big bad for the MCU. They could. I mean, they 100% could. Ryan Scott had a very funny. He said, "Yeah, at the very end of the episode, they find out that Magneto comes over, and they find out that she's a mutant, that Pietro's a mutant, and everything was supposed to, they were always supposed to be mutants, and blah 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 blah." And how did he put it? Like Shield Sword's talking about going in, like stopping Magneto and all this stuff, and she goes, "No, more mutants." And then that's the start of the X-Men. I thought that was very clever. So, no more mutants.
Yeah, we get it.
No, comma, money down.
Or she could have just literally yanked Pietro out of the X-Men Fox universe and said, no more mutants there, and wiped out that universe completely. But somehow Deadpool falls out of that and into this universe.
Ryan, would you be disappointed if that Evan Peters Quicksilver was never seen or mentioned again for the rest of the show?
Like if he wasn't in next week's episode?
Or in any more episodes?
Or in this
like
upcoming
you never see him again on WandaVision.
I feel like they have to have him in there. I'm just
wondering where you go with it.
I think what I said. I think like she has to acknowledge the grief of losing him. I mean, she kind of has, but
yeah,
it's built. It's more right. It's a combination of him and Vision and her whole. Basically, all the problems of Civil War, and and everyone fucking dying during Thanos and blah blah blah, and it's just built up inside of her, right? I feel like he's in this next episode, but I think that could be it. Hey, maybe he's in the rest of them. Like I said, I obviously have no idea, but I kind of feel like he could be a one and done, and that's the end, and it's a nod to the X-Men movies, but then we're done.
Well, I think that the biggest thing is what happens. What happens with Wanda between the end of Endgame and her breaking into Get Vision's body? What happened between those 2 points?
She found out Vision was being held by Sword. And it was like, what? Fuck that.
But that's like where did she get that information?
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's the thing.
Well,
is,
I don't
is
think we need to know that so much. I mean, in general,
it just depends. It might be something that we need to know going forward for something that they're going to do. We don't know.
Yeah, because she was at Tony Stark's funeral.
She was
I
at
have
Tony
to
Stark's
assume.
funeral.
Yeah, she was there, and
was
she
at
wasn't
Tony Stark's
freaking
funeral,
out.
but she was also one that blipped. Yep, she blipped. Vision did not. She did.
Yeah, because Vision just gets killed. Oh, she does. Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah, she
so
does.
not only is she coming back after 5 years, right? She's also coming back more powerful, right? So,
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions that we don't know about her since she came back, and that's that's what I think is I think what the show is building to is answering these questions, because it's giving us a little here and there, but while also adding more questions.
Yeah, the people that come back seem to just get dumped immediately where they left off, and they're
So she would be in Wakanda alone, not knowing what the hell happened.
Briefly,
well, she gets
because the whole idea in Endgame is they all come back, and then basically all the monks and stuff from Doctor Strange start opening portals to bring everybody together.
They're very quickly like, we know you've been dead for 5 years, but come with us.
We're assembling. Come on, we're assembling. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember who she walked out with on Endgame.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm assuming it would be like Black Panther and them, but
just whoever else came in from. Yeah, 'cause she was in Wakanda, right? Yeah, she was in that fight. So, yeah. I mean, so many questions. We'll get some answers this week, and I'm sure more questions. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that episode 4 and 5. Like I said, I think it is such a dramatic shift from those first 3. Works better for Toby. I kind of wish they drew it out a little bit longer and weren't so just info dumpy. But I still really enjoy the show. And Kevin, what you said before, right? Netflix is just the ruin of television. Besides canceling stuff immediately, and everything ending after just a couple seasons, and nothing gets nothing lasts, nothing sticks around. And people have heard me say this, and I know many people disagree with this, but nothing is worse for television than binge an entire season. You want to watch 10 seasons of The Office, go for it. It's an old show. That's fine. New shows? No.
I love the model of 2 episodes up front right away and then weekly parsing out. Think about Twin Peaks: The Return. If that had been just dropped as an 18-hour block of...
been incomprehensible. Like you don't have the conversation. You don't have this, right? You don't have theories. And again, you don't need this. But, the water cooler has turned to internet discussion, internet conversation, right? I mean, and that is the fun here. It keeps it in the conscious. You have a break. Like, so we're watching Ozark right now.
Yeah.
And it's really good. But, we're watching it just kind of, episode every couple nights or something like that. It's also an incredibly dark show, and I don't mean dark like dark. I mean dark like physically, like black.
Yeah,
like you cannot see.
Yep. Yeah, you have to watch it at night with no lights on. You can't watch it in the daytime.
I still can't even see what's going on. I'm like, who's that? I'm like squinting. I'm like, I see one character in the
you need glasses,
darkness.
Man.
There's no one on this. There's like one character way in the background. What's going on in the show? But there's definitely like those cliffhangers hit harder when you have a week between episodes or a year between episodes. I don't like binging shows. I think it really takes away the pacing, and a show that's built to binge. I mean, sure, whatever. I guess if they're conscious of it, then maybe you can do it and it works fine. It's just like a very long movie. But a show that's intended to be weekly, and I feel like Ozark's Netflix original, right? And that is dumped all at once, but it's written like a show for cable. It is written like a weekly television show. So yeah, I feel like I would have a really hard time. And plus spoilers, like this show, it's all about the secrets and the mystery. If every episode was on day one, you there's no mystery. There's nothing to talk about. So yeah, I really hate that model, and I'm very happy that every other platform has basically ignored it. Almost every other show on every other platform that I watch is weekly, or comes out weekly. I may not watch it weekly, but it seems like Netflix really the only one sticking with that for most of their for all their shows. I know there's some binge shows on other platforms, but I feel like it's at this point it's really only Netflix that's across the board.
Well, speaking of Netflix,
I
was teeing you up, man. You have a news item.
Are we done?
Oh, I don't know. I
Well,
thought
we're
you were
not going to be
wrapping
done
up
with
with
WandaVision. We still have 4 episodes.
We still got 4 left.
God, I set it up for you to just like run up and slam the ball in the.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I was still thinking about WandaVision. So if you're hour and 8 minutes, okay, I can. Maybe I'll.
Well, let me give you my quick rundown.
Yeah.
Of this.
Yeah.
Look, I honestly don't think the whole X-Men lore is going to come into this. I at the very most they're going to pickpocket things they like, but I think Quicksilver, maybe Magneto is as far as they go, and it could be their. I mean, it's not certain that it's even the Fox one, which it could be another version of Quicksilver, but I'm somehow hoping they acknowledge it a little bit, just even if it's a wink, since they use that actor, because otherwise I feel like it's a waste. But also, I mean, look, when I say that the show is going to end on a cliffhanger, I really do think it's possible, and they'd announce something else at the end of the show. But yeah, I think things could be hinted at as big as they are, and I think like Mephisto may have a glimpse or a cameo, or may show up, but is not the main villain. I do think Agatha might have a hand in this, but I do think the show is unique enough where Wanda is both the villain and the hero in ways, or the main character in the show. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take. I don't think things are going to be as big. This is more of a personal story, and yeah, if they're going to do a second season, it's not going to be the television motif anymore. But
yeah, it would have to be something totally different.
Yeah, but I remember when you said all the mystery's gone after episode 4, and I feel like after episode 5 we got way more questions than we had in the beginning. So I feel the mystery is well and alive.
Mysteries are, but what's going on isn't. We know what's going on.
We had a sense of what was kind of going on.
To a degree.
Yeah. And we still don't, really.
We know
and again, this is where watching the way this is produced and stuff, I find kind of interesting, because as comic fans and people on the internet and that kind of stuff, we had a very strong sense of what we suspected was going on, and all episode 4 did was kind of confirm what we already knew. And that's where, like, for me, I don't see it as a problem the way Ryan does, because I enjoyed the episode for what it was, but all it did was be like, they're not going as far away from the comics as it potentially could, because from the comics we kind of already had all the pieces we needed to go, okay, we know the framework of what's going on. Now, mind you, I feel like the introduction of Pietro opens up whole another set of questions about what direction they're going to go with that.
Yeah.
And the only thing about, like, I love the fact they did this, don't get me wrong, but the flip side of that is I want that to remain its own. I don't care if they acknowledge there was a separate universe with the X-Men out there previously.
Yeah, like I
don't want them to try and fold that X-Men universe into this universe or anything, because there wasn't enough good in that X-Men universe, especially in terms of stuff like Hugh Jackman retiring from the kid. Like, if certain things were no longer off the table, I might feel differently. But I feel like right now they don't have enough good, and they don't have enough of the good stuff in contract still to make it worth trying to bring that over. I just feel like they'd be bringing in more crap than quality.
No, they could throw a boatload of money at Hugh Jackman for a cameo, but like he's not coming back to play Wolverine, not in any sort of regular role or anything like that. And like I said, I mean, he's just like we're talking about Captain America and all these actors, they're just too old, right? I mean, these guys just won't be able to play the role anymore. It sucks. It really sucks. I wish we could. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, you don't get better casting than that. I like McAvoy and Fassbender, but come on. I mean, those guys are perfect. It's just, they're older. These things can't happen. And Hugh Jackman was a baby when the X-Men started, but that was 20 years ago. So like, yeah, these characters just age. You're gonna reboot and restart, and cameos, you can have fun with it, but like,
and that's where I feel like they have a way to kind of acknowledge and bring in a little bit what they want with the multiverse, like being able to play around with that actor as Quicksilver and stuff, I think is a perfect way to do it. But the whole point of this is the way they're going to bring in the X-Men and mutants and that stuff, I can't see them doing it, just because, like, if the X-Men Fox movies were in a better state, then I'd believe it a bit more. But I want the MCU to be able to do more classic stories and not have a bunch of stuff off limits because Fox did this and Fox, like, I'm super curious to see how they're going to bring Deadpool in, because that's the only thing we know for sure is going to be set in the MCU is Deadpool 3.
That's what I was going to say. Like, Deadpool works. He can still be the role. It's the way that character looks. It's mostly in costume. He's all fucked up anyway. Like, and he can play that. Ryan Reynolds can play that role as long as he wants. He's not a face character, quote unquote.
Deadpool went into a DC movie and corrected it.
Like, up front, I think they're not even going to acknowledge it. They're going to do the Deadpool movie. He's also going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he's just going to look around and go, things are different.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and Deadpool is the perfect character to be like, well, now that Daddy Fox and Mama Mickey or Daddy Mickey and Mama Fox got together, and now all of a sudden I'm walking out in this new crazy world. Oh, look at the Spider-Man guy. He's kind of weird, huh? And like that's the end of it. Or they just don't. Yeah, I mean, Deadpool can make fun of it. Deadpool can acknowledge it, and then just move on. That doesn't work with Wolverine and Cyclops and Professor X. There's not that character. Yeah.
But see, Deadpool's going to introduce the X-Men because he's going to go and open a door, and all of them are going to be there, and those will be your new X-Men.
Well, WandaVision podcast
is fun.
Yeah, maybe we can just we'll start talking about other stuff now. On this WandaVision podcast, we also talk about some other news about comic books and TV.
Oh, I don't think so. I think next week. I think the next episode is going to be even crazier than episode 5, and we'll have to talk about it.
I would expect.
Episode 6 is where we get Mephisto.
Speaking of Netflix, Kevin. Speaking of Netflix,
I hope you're going to edit that together so it sounds like you and I were on the same page.
He's not going to edit it.
We finally got cast. We finally got the casting for the Sandman show.
You mean that we finally got the casting 2 weeks ago, and we just haven't talked about it?
Well, we weren't. Yeah, we didn't do our episode, or we did the episode with Josh last week. So now I mostly want to bring this up to say I don't know who most of these people are, which is perfectly fine. Charles Dance, great.
As Roderick Burgess.
Yeah, and that's a great role.
Perfect.
So I when I was explaining some of these casting choices to people, I said, look, they're not going to stick to the comic races and genders. They're going to move around. I feel a character like Burgess, you need an old British white man. Like I feel like that role that is important to that character's role.
Just the way that character was drawn in those issues is just
Lucian. There are elements of Lucian that the librarian that might lend itself more to the way the character is drawn, but a black woman or a white elfish male can have the same reactions that character does. It really doesn't matter.
I think what it is just how they have that character. I think if that character has glasses and at least the hair, if she has that hair, yeah,
stuck up glasses,
just that hair that's like
kind of not shaky, but just like too studious, too kind of annoyed at everything, like yeah. I mostly put this on here to talk about the casting of Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, as whoever did that needs a raise. That is incredible. That is thinking maybe a little outside the box, but that is a casting choice that I this is why it sometimes works to kind of try something different, because of the second you're like, holy fuck. And again, remember, like Lucifer from the comic, the Lucifer comic, and obviously Lucifer in the TV show, different, all right, different take. The Lucifer for Sandman, Gwendolyn Christie, that's a good casting. Yeah. That is very interesting. Because and
again, that character is drawn very like just they, them, like it's just this.
And
because the only other one would be Desire, but I don't. I like that they picked Lucifer for her.
Imposing. There's a presence. I think that is a great casting.
You know what I love about that casting? Everything, but specifically, if you had asked me to name 20 actors who I would want to see cast as Lucifer, I wouldn't have thought of her. But yet, once you read it and see it, you just go, oh, well, that's already better than if I had come up with 50 names. That's already better than any of them. So whoever's thinking that whoever thought of that, but not only just her, but whoever's thinking in those kind of abstract terms, rather than just say, well, let's get a David Bowie lookalike, like the comics.
Right.
Just the show may be great. It may be mediocre. Who knows? But
they just put they just put a Lucifer image from the comic into the Google thing and said search, and her face popped up. That's just how they.
And with Sandman, I think as long as the story elements are there, changing in race and genders of the characters, again, there are some characters. I think, what's her name? The young girl from the
Rose.
Rose. Yeah, Rose. Hard to have that character not be a young girl. That's the character that is, I think, very important to that role. Her the events that she goes through would not translate quite as well if that was a younger boy or an older man, or maybe even an older woman. I feel like that that's going to have to stay pretty close. Well, I think
it's the same thing with Charles Dance and Boyd Holbrook. The Corinthian is just. You can't just. It's such a just like that's the character, right? Like it's hard to do it different because the Corinthian is just that contrast.
To me, I think it's more how the character relates to the story. I think Corinthian, as long as you have that incredibly menacing presence, I think it works. Man, woman, black, white, I don't think that really matters with the Corinthian. I think the plot around Rose is more important for her to be a young girl. The plot around
it's
Fergus needs him to be an elderly man.
But with the Corinthian, you need to have that alpha dominant kind of role. Especially with what goes on with
Sure.
Oh,
but I think you could have that with a woman.
I cannot wait for the serial convention.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'm very very excited for however they're going to play up a lot of the stuff, and there will be changes, and then that's okay. I'm okay. We have the audiobook and obviously the comics, but if we're looking for a more literal translation, yeah, I'm super stoked. That's great casting, and maybe Netflix will release it weekly, and we'll actually talk about it. Because if it releases all at once, it's going to take me like 12 weeks or 13 weeks to watch it all, and then nobody will care anymore.
What do you think about the Cain and Abel casting?
It's fine. I again, biblically, and from the original stories, maybe they kind of both have to be guys. I feel like that's pretty important, but
I think it works. I think it works brilliantly, especially with just what type of people they would have been.
Yeah,
right?
and I think body shapes are important. The contrast between those two characters is a pretty important feature in them. If they were both like tall and skinny, it wouldn't play the same. Right? I think those elements are more important. The body types then and again, I feel like they probably have to be brothers. Again, that's pretty important. But race and look are don't really matter.
For me though, it's more of like the callback to just that area of the world and what is is prevalent there. Just like where those people are from and where those stories would have originated from. Right.
Well, yeah, if there was a Cain and Abel, they would have been from.
They would have been
Africa,
from
the Middle East.
Yeah, so it's like it works perfectly. So for me, it's like one of those. Yeah, it's like I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah. I got no problem. With it. Yeah,
but man, doesn't Tom Sturridge have just those Jim Lee dream lines for his chin?
Well, I definitely thought look, I also think Sandman's gonna look like Sandman. I don't know the actor from anything, so I don't really know. But he looks like we need to cast someone that looks like a young Robert Smith. You did your job. There you go. He's got that gothy look, so it works.
What, Toby?
What was his name?
Boo, I had it up here. Hold on, let me grab it.
Tom Sturridge, or the one that Ryan mentioned as a look like
movie?
Huh?
From the Rachel Bilson movie?
Tom Sturridge. Yeah, I looked him up. I didn't really recognize him from anything, but I'll tell you exactly what he's from. He's a young guy. He's from the Sweet Biter television show.
No,
he's from
an independent movie with Rachel Bilson, like something about love, waiting for love, waiting.
From Velvet Buzzsaw.
Waiting something. He had like a silly hat on. He would walk around.
Waiting for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Sandman.
Yep. I see a picture of him here. Yep.
Interesting.
I mean, so Sandman was basically based off Robert Smith from The Cure, and this guy looks like, sure, if you want to cast some dude to play a young Robert Smith, this guy kind of works. So, he's more attractive, but sure, I could see that. It makes sense. Oh, who the hell was he in Velvet Buzzsaw? I watched that. John Dondon. Huh. I have seen a movie he's in. Did you watch that? That was okay. It was like that horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
The one with Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo, the Netflix one. It was all right.
I didn't watch that one.
Yeah, it was all right. Oh, wow. Yeah, I had no idea. I'll have to see who is in that movie. That's interesting. Sandman, cannot wait. Now we got some comic book stuff to talk about, and man, we've been going for a bit here. I don't need to go on about too much about this stuff. I did want to talk about one thing specific, though.
Is this the thing you told us not to click on?
And that is Black Adam. We have to talk about Black Adam for a second here, okay? So we had Joshua Williamson on the podcast last week to talk all about Infinite Frontier.
Uh-huh.
And Infinite Frontier is going to have a lot of big stuff going on it, obviously. We got the PDF the day after, so I was able to read it. It's very good. It's Brock. It's linked to the account. I'll let you read on Thursday. You can read on Thursday. We have to be logged in. It's a
okay.
it's not
just
something.
Log in and put it up for me then.
Yeah, I'll get it for you. So I read it and I was like, wow, holy shit. And the next day, I believe it was the next day, all of a sudden, Bleeding Cool's like, we have someone telling us about events from Infinite Frontier, and it's like, oh no, someone just straight up gave you access to the PDF, like you have the PDF. So okay, you're gonna spoil every single, some very loud noise in the back of the thing. I have no idea what's going on. You're just gonna spoil every element of this book for everyone. Great. Okay.
Way to go, Bleeding Cool. Yay.
The very first thing they post is about Black Adam. And that Black Adam is going to be changing his name. The DC Comics is changing Black Adam's name to Shazadam.
Wait, what?
Like Shazam, Adam, Shazadam. Sorry.
That can't be.
Shazadam. Shazadam.
No way that's real.
So Bleeding Cool posted this, and I'm like, I have read Infinite Frontier.
Don't get us in trouble.
No. I understand what is happening here. However, this is wrong. And a couple days later, they ended up posting multiple pages from the issue. Meanwhile, a couple outlets, I think Comic Resources, I know IGN posted about it. They said they had contacted their sources within DC, and they were like, no, they denied that they're changing Black Adam's name. And so I felt like, okay, there's enough talk here that I feel comfortable in coming out while not spoiling any story elements. I'm under no NDA to not say anything. I just respect the request of the publishers that when we get advanced copies, we don't spoil it. It's for retailers to judge the quality of the work and order additional copies or market appropriately, right? I love the fact that so many companies give us advanced stuff now. It's great. And we should not spoil this stuff. That's, it ruins our job. It makes our job harder if we spoil it, because stuff like Shazadam causes people to not want to read the book. They think it's stupid, because why would DC do this? Well, DC's not doing this. If you saw this happen last week, or you saw any of my tweets about it.
No, I didn't. Thanks for reminding me.
There's a intentional misreading of a sequence in the comic. I think it's intentional, because I think it's a great clickbait headline. That DC's changing the name of Black Adam to Shazadam, right? That's a great clickbait headline that's going to rile up people. Right.
It riled you up.
It will make sense when you read the story. The word Shazadam is in the book. Like, I'm not saying it's not. It's in the book. But the context of what's going on is conveniently left out of the story that Bleeding Cool put up. So, while I cannot claim any official knowledge, I would bet my store that Black Adam will not be called Shazadam on the cover of a miniseries. They are not changing the name of the movie to Shazadam, right?
Yeah, I don't think Rock would go for that.
Yeah, so like that. Yes, if you read some of the comments of the second post Bleeding Cool made when they actually did post some pages from it, which I did not share, but you can go find that stuff if you want. Shockingly enough, the comment section seemed to actually understand what was going on, and we're calling Bleeding Cool out on this stuff, because it basically was like, would you put up a story that said that Marvel was trying to change the name of Nightcrawler to Fuzzy Elf? I mean, he's called that all the time in the comic books.
I mean, I can see
But
them.
his
I
name
can
is
see them
Nightcrawler.
changing the little Nightcrawlers to fuzzy elves.
The Bamps.
The Bamps. I can see those being fuzzy elves.
Yeah. So while not exactly the same situation, it is a very it is similar enough that that's a good analogy. That you know, I am pretty sure that you don't have to worry about Shazadam being the official name of that character. Tef Adam will not be called Shazadam going forward. I guess we will find out, and you can figure out what all this is about in a couple of weeks when Infinite Frontier Number 0 comes out. So look for that.
Shazadam.
Shazam!
I can't wait till people start coming in to get the first appearance of Shazadam.
I like Shazam.
We did have a lot of these, and now that again this would have been awesome to have last week because we could have narrowed some of this down, but we do actually have the official list of stories and creative teams in Infinite Frontier. Again, this is the book we talked about last week with Josh Williamson. So there is a framing sequence written by Josh Williamson, James Tynion in the fourth, Scott Snyder, John Timms, and Alex Sinclair. So they have multiple chapters kind of throughout the book. Justice League has a short story by Brian Michael Bendis, David Marquez, and Tamara Bavillon. Batman, and the Batman section seems pretty lengthy, by James Tynion, Jorge Jimenez, and Tommy Morey. Wonder Woman by Becky Cloonan, Michael Conrad, Alytha Martinez, Mark Morales, Emilio Lopez. So we get some of that Becky Cloonan and Wonder Woman in there. There's a Wonder Girl bit by Julia Jones and Jordi Belair. And we saw the Wonder Girl. That was one of the ones that they clipped out and have used for some of the promotional images. We got one kind of a
Joelle Jones on the Wonder Girl book. Say it isn't so. That's just a moneymaker right there.
Yeah, no, she's writing and drawing the whole thing. Green Lantern, Alan Scott by James Tynion and Stephen Byrne. Teen Titans Academy by Tim Sheridan and Rafa Sandoval, Jordi Tarragona, and Alejandro Sanchez. And most of these are the ongoing or the new creative teams for these books as well. And some of these people, they worked in the Future State titles, so a lot of these names are going to sound familiar. The Superman section is by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Jamal Engel, and Hi-Fi. Green Arrow and Black Canary by Joshua Williamson, Alex Maleev, and Jordi Belair. And yeah, man, Green Arrow. That's I dig that scene. Stargirl by Jeff Johns and Todd Knock, and Hi-Fi as well, doing the coloring there. And I again very excited. I don't know why they would do a little Stargirl one-off if we're not getting more Stargirl. So I have to assume that's Jeff Johns' next project, is that we're going to get a Stargirl mini, which is great. I'm always down for more Stargirl. Green Lanterns by Jeffrey Thorne, Dexter Soy, and Alex Sinclair. The Flash by Joshua Williamson, Howard Porter, and Hi-Fi as well. And again, very important sequence. He was not lying. That Flash scene is great. And then the epilogue by Joshua Williamson, John Romita Jr., Klaus Janson, and Brad Anderson. So, do not let that ending get spoiled for you. It's a doozy. So, yeah, there we go. Infinite Frontier creative teams. It's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it.
You've already read it, so you know it's good.
Well, I'm looking forward. I mean, everything. And, there could be some little tweaks. Maybe they'll pull Shazadam from the book. I don't know. But yeah, there could be some little tweaks now and then. But no, I mean, I'm looking forward to these stories progressing out of Infinite Frontier and where they go going forward. So there you go. We got a question. Patreon.
Just one?
Yeah. Hey, Patreon people, go leave some questions on our Q&A thread. It's from Alex. He says, at what point do you think you could sue a publisher for misinformation with the solicitations? Story solicitations that don't match all the context, not enough pages, or saying something is going to have a major impact and then has no impact whatsoever. I do not believe you could sue them for any of that. You could give them strongly worded letters. I hope they wouldn't lie intentionally. I mean, maybe at some point, if it happened all the time,
Well, I'm
But
still mad at Joe Madeira for not finishing Battle Chasers.
yeah, unfortunately, it's a case where you're not owed anything. It's their thing, right? I
I'm still mad
think
about
the only time any of these companies has been sued by a retailer was Brian Hibbs sued Marvel in a class action. Was it actually a class action lawsuit? I can't remember. For basically, and I don't know if they won or if they just settled, but Marvel was not agreeing to its own terms of service, so returnability for this exact same thing, right? Where it wasn't that they didn't get sued because they changed the stuff. Their terms of service is, if we change stuff, the books are returnable. That's what the lawsuit was about. Yeah, so things would get changed and the books were not made returnable. So it's not the fact that they were changed, it's the fact that they didn't agree to their own terms. And we got a bunch of credit and got to return a bunch of books and everything. But yeah, just if they're like, Superman's in this issue and then he's not in this issue, and I don't think you could sue him. Again, maybe if it was like constantly all the time, but then like I just wouldn't pay attention at that point. I mean, again, maybe there's something they could do, but I don't know.
But what if it was something like brand new character, but they don't introduce that character?
Again, I don't think. I mean, I don't think you could sue them. You could request to return the book. Maybe they'll give it to you. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. But I don't think you could sue them. But I don't know. I'm also not a lawyer, so I'm just going by precedence here that that how this stuff has worked in the past, and I don't know that anyone sued him for any of that stuff.
I think it would be very, very hard to put together a case to show a certain amount of damages based on a change like that. I mean, the closest thing I could think of in recent times was the whole sort of Batman Catwoman wedding build-up and how upset some places got about the amount of money they pumped into promotion on that.
Yeah.
But again, that's not really the publisher's fault, and I don't know how some of that stuff worked out, because I think there may have been something where something was agreed upon to try and help, but I don't think that made it to like lawsuit or anything.
Yeah, no, I think they said they would take back returns for stores if they felt they like way over ordered and got stuck with a bunch of unsold product. And I'm sure they did, right? And I was never DC or Tom King's intent to like fake people out. I mean, that's just the story's the story.
They were leading up to the wedding. They just didn't have the wedding.
No, I know we talked about this at length. That's the only thing that I can think of that's happened recently that was a big enough deal between promotion versus what came out that
I got one.
There was enough people upset that there could have been something like that, and even that they just kind of worked out. So.
I got one. Could retailers have put together a good lawsuit against Marvel for those hideous 3D covers that were made to look like, oh, these are great, and then they weren't. They were just bad.
No.
Son of a bitch. They were bad, though.
I as a general rule, I don't think you could sue someone for poor quality in that way, in that situation. Like they build a house and it falls apart on you. Okay, yes, you can sue them, but like
the seatbelt's not manufactured correctly. It's not good quality.
The picture on the front of the book was not as good as I thought it would be. Like I can't really sue anyone over that. I don't know. Lawyers will sue for anything for anyone. So maybe.
But I think you would have to be able to show enough in lost revenue or something to even make a case like that.
Yeah.
Where, like, I have a hard time thinking of a case where a single comic or even a single month of comics would be a big enough expenditure where you going back to those Marvel 3D covers and that kind of stuff. Yes, you may not have sold as many of them as you hoped you would have or whatnot, or were expecting to based on the images, but you would still sell any comic that comes out, you would sell a certain amount of, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
there would have to
I
be
mean,
like a significant loss that you could tie directly to something that was in there or not in there that you could justify that there was lost
if
revenue kind of thing.
if they were literally faulty, I mean, if every graphic novel was falling out of the binding, if every comic the staples weren't there, that's like faulty product. I think at some point you may have a case, but like I didn't like the way this art turned out on this thing I ordered to wholesale to sell. Like that's not. I mean, if they promised you like a $20 bill inside of it and it didn't have it, maybe then you could sue them. I guess I don't know, but yeah. Any of these like people jump to lawsuits. I don't. No company's doing this on purpose. You know, like with DC with Catwoman, like there was no misrepresentation there. Like there's no guarantee that the story will go the way you want it. You can't sue someone just because you don't like
Tom
the
King
product.
just gave fans what they did, what they needed, not what they wanted.
There you go. All right, we are going to wrap up. Thank you to all our wonderful Patreon backers, all our wonderful supporters. I have my thing here somewhere. Here it is. Let's thank our good friends Joe Duff, Jesse Peterson at the Comic Book Matters podcast, and I should say that I will be on the Comic Book Matters podcast on Thursday night. I don't know when the episode goes up. It'll probably go up maybe Friday, maybe next Monday. I'm not sure exactly when the episode goes up, but I will let everyone know next week. Jesse likes to interview people, or Jesse's the point of the podcast is they interview people about certain comic books that have mattered to them and their, or comic books or creative teams or whatever have you, that has mattered to them in their life. And I put a couple examples up, and we chose the New Warriors. So if you want to hear me talk about the New Warriors, I will be talking about that on the Comic Book Matters podcast.
Now, if you could only read one for the rest of your life, would it be New Warriors or Teen Titans?
Like new stuff?
No, the only thing you could ever read again would be New Warriors or Teen Titans. So even if new Warriors came out, and even if new Teen Titans came out, and you couldn't even read the old stuff, you couldn't read the new stuff. You could only read one.
Which Teen Titans? I mean, because New Warriors is one run I like and a lot I don't. Teen Titans is 10 times as many books across all their
what
series.
You read? Are you a New Warriors fanboy? Are you reading New Warriors for Life or Teen Titans?
Well, probably Teen Titans because there's way more of it. I mean, New Warriors is really good, but it's very limited in its scope. There's really only that first run that I care about. Jimmy Rivera has a social forum podcast. Andrew Nelson Mendez. Sorry, that did not come out. I'm going to go my throat here. Sorry. Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast, and Craig Anderson at clearpathcoaches.com. Please check all of them out. And I'll post about the Comic Book Matters podcast later when we're on. Head over to geekbox.net and comicconspiracypodcast.com, Apple Podcast, and Spotify for all the previous episodes. Go to patreon.com/comicconspiracy to kick us a couple bucks. And over to comicsconspiracy.biz if you would like to purchase some books from us. Brock will get those shipped out. Ship a couple times a week.
That's all I do. Shipping. A lot of
shipping.
I thought back issues was my job security. I thought back issues was my job security. Nope.
Now it's shipping. Spiritofbrock.com. Brock's blog, video playlist, unboxing videos. You can check his stuff out.
I just got my first Kickstarter back, Astra of Pan. So I did a unboxing video for that. Really cool. Nice. I read a little bit of it. It's pretty good. We actually have a copy at the store if people are interested.
We do. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. That's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. And Kevin's got the weekly interview series called Between the Panels, which is over at fanbasepress.com. He interviews a lot of big creators. Go check out those interviews, big and new and upcoming and lesser known, all over the map. Interviews all sorts of great creators. And my wife, Leanne, is at leannehill.com. You can see all her artwork on there and pick it up at etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt. Don't forget to go on Twitter and follow me, Ryan Higgins Ryan. Toby's Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is at Kevin Sharp. The store is Comics Con Store. Keep checking that Brock Sager.
I apparently got an email saying we are reviewing it.
Oh, it's
maybe
progress.
We're in the process of, but it was a auto reply to something I sent out on Monday. So,
all right, it's a reply. You're getting there.
Oh no, they're probably just going to review it, not do it, dismiss it. I'll have to do it again, and I'll get another appeal case. Yay!
Hopefully, get it. Check out Geekbox. It was just me and Ryan this week talking about WandaVision. So if you want to hear the same conversation we had on this podcast, just on a different podcast, you can go listen to that. You know, some different topics came up. So, and our good friends over among Machinations, go check them out as well. And that will do it. Thank you all very. Oh, Toby.
People will really need to listen to this podcast right away, because by next episode of WandaVision will come out, and we'll prove all of us completely wrong.
Yes.
Conversation all over.
It's great listening to podcasts like the day after the next thing comes out and everything they said is wrong. That's what we specialize in. So that's why we get this podcast up the second WandaVision's over. That's why we record our theories immediately, not like almost a week later. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next week.